Hello and welcome. Oh, it's my kids. Hello. Hi, David. Hi, Maggie. Hi, Eliza. Welcome. You're the only ones right now. Oh, there's someone else too. I can't see who it is though. Let's see here. Okay. Well, I'll just get started, even though it's my children. There's someone else that I can't tell who you are, so if I don't welcome you, it's only because your name is not showing up. But I'm glad to be here with you. And my name is Nicole Pietrandrea Huff for cocohuff.com. And I have been a kitchen designer for 18 years and just love everything in the kitchen, including design, organization, food. And my goal here is to share all of that with you and to make your time in the kitchen more enjoyable, less stressful, and help you make delicious things by teaching the basic techniques that you need to make meals over and over and get the most flavor out of the food that you buy and the things that you're making, and also to use everything that you're bringing into your kitchen. So I see there are a few people watching. I can't see all the names popping up today for some reason. So if I don't welcome you as usual, that is why, but I'm glad that you're here with me. So today we are making stuffed eggplant, and it will have a bechamel sauce, cheese sauce on top, and we'll talk about why these things are, even though it's one single dish, why these are fundamental things that will help you with other things that you're making in the kitchen, which is always the goal here, to just get the techniques across and teach things that you can use over and over again. So this was actually a viewer request by Jane. We'll see if Jane comes, and we'll see if I can see who's coming or not today. And we're just gonna get started. So let me see, I have 3 camera angles going on today, so we'll see how much I can juggle. I wanted you to be able to see a little bit more close up the chopping board and a little bit more closely the pots and pans. So you can let me know what's working for you. And let's see. I see Nikki. I do see some of your names, not all of them. I don't know what the rules are on Facebook about that, why it's showing me or not. So I always forget to say, if you have questions, please type them in. I would love to answer your questions. So anything about kitchen design, about anything about that, about cooking in general, about cooking equipment, about what we're making today. And also, if you make any of these things, I love getting pictures of what you make. It's been so much fun. I got a few this week, and that's been great. So let's get started. I'll show you what I have here. I have most of my produce and cheese and stuff here. So 1 large eggplant, a big bunch of parsley, some grated Parmesan cheese, a little bit of flour, goat cheese, onions, garlic, rice. That will be sort of the filler binder for our stuffing. I have my oven at 400 degrees. So we're already prepping that because we want to get some stuff in there quickly. Hi, Vadim. How are you? I don't know. You did take a picture. So Vadim made the beef stew this week that we did a couple weeks ago, and it looked so good. I was so happy to see that, and they said their family enjoyed it. I'm in Seattle, so that was really great. Hi, Elizabeth. Good to see you there. So that made me happy. And oh, she's not on yet. But one other person made the beef stew this week too, and that seems to be a hit. Hi, Stacy. I know I posted the ingredients a little bit late. I've had requests to do it earlier, so I will do it earlier. Stacy cooked along last week, and I don't know if you are tonight. That was her idea originally. But, oh, I'm not even on the camera this whole time. That was Stacy's idea. Hi, Teresa. Teresa's here. She's the one that also made the beef stew and requested last week's dish with shrimp and pasta. Okay, so let me know what's going on, everyone. Let me know if you're cooking. I'm still not on the camera. I don't know if I am or not, actually. Oh, yes. Vadim says the stew is great. Got 2 nights dinners out of it. That's always awesome. I like to have things the next day for lunch and, or breakfast. And Jen is here. Hello. Okay, so enough chat. Let's get to cooking. So the first thing we have to do is get this eggplant in the 400 degree oven. So we don't want it to be, we want it to be nice and soft and caramelized. So let me clear off this board of everything else before we start. I have a little baking sheet here as well. Let's see, clear. And this is pretty simple. It's just going to be the eggplant, some olive oil, and some salt. But I want to cut this up first. So let me go to this camera. Try to get under this. I washed this, of course. This is one large eggplant. If you wanted to do the same thing with a bunch of small eggplants and hollow them out, it would be the same technique, you know, just smaller. Same amount of cooking time probably, maybe a little shorter on this first stage. So cut that off and get rid of all that for your compost, because I don't want to waste, you know, a lot of this. We're trying to get as much space as possible to stuff. So I'm just cutting this stem end off, standing this up like this, cutting through the very end, right in half. And now I have these two halves. Regina says, any tips on selecting the eggplant? Hi Regina, Regina's back again too, thank you. Let's see, tips on the eggplant. This one, it was nice and firm. It doesn't have any blemishes on it. It was large. I really wanted a pretty large one for this. And like I said, I could have done several small ones. That's just not what they had today. You would just cut those in half and we're gonna hollow them the same way. I'll show you what I don't want, which came from Whole Foods. I shouldn't throw Whole Foods under the bus, but you know, they've supplied all those beautiful shrimp from last week, all this great stuff. But today I had it delivered, and this one, I was not happy. It has like soft, brown spots all over it. It's soft. That is not what you want. That's probably pretty obvious, but it wasn't obvious. So I did not end up using that. You know, there's so many different kinds. There are the little round ones are also good for stuffing. The long Japanese ones, I usually end up doing round slices and sauteing them with like a miso or something like that. I don't know if that's as easy to stuff. So that would be my initial thoughts on that. These are just large Italian eggplants. So it's really like most of what we're doing is kind of up to what you see and what you find, and you know, once you get the basic idea down, you can improvise. So that's really my goal, at least. Teresa says, I am on the camera. Okay, good. 3 cameras. We'll see how this goes today. All right, back to the eggplant. Eggplants absorb oil like crazy, and they kind of need it, or when they cook, they get rubbery, I find. So I'm going to pour, I have my oil in this little pitcher because I have a giant bottle of olive oil. I'm going to pour it on here and just brush it. I find this, you can use your hands too. Just brush this all over the cut side of the eggplant. It's like a sponge, but it makes it so much more delicious. And this is for 4 people, so you know, in the end it's not so bad, and some of it comes out. I will say a little bit more about eggplant. Hi Karen. Karen is one of our regulars. Good to see you. Making some delicious things there too. Okay, so a good amount of olive oil. I'm going to sprinkle with salt. Flip this over. Just flip it over onto our tray. We're getting this, like I said before, we're getting this into the oven first, and my oven is at 400 degrees so that it cooks while we make the stuffing, and then we have a nice caramelized brown eggplant, soft. We don't want rubbery eggplant. Sometimes you cook it and you can't get it soft. I don't know why that happens, but you want it to be like mush, but maybe not so mush that it's not holding our filling. All right, so this is going into my 400 degree oven right now. So let me say about eggplant as well. I took all my cast iron pans out of there so we can cook and I don't have to run away. Large eggplants like that, you know, I did a test run. Oh, we test run, don't look. It has to go into the oven so it's done for us later. A large eggplant like that can be bitter, and I haven't experienced that as much in recent years as they used to be. I don't know if there's something about how they're growing them, but to combat that, or if you're trying to get it really soft and cooked down or very tender, you would slice your eggplant first, salt it in a colander, not for this, but for, you know, an eggplant parm, something like that. Let that sit in the colander and you will be amazed how much liquid comes out of it, and it actually intensifies the flavor a little bit and supposedly removes the bitterness. There might be some controversy about that with people who have tested it. Yes, bitterness versus not. But that is one thing to be aware of. So if something says to salt your eggplant, that's why they're saying that. All right, a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and we're gonna start like we almost always do with some onions. My kids make fun of the way I say onions. I don't know if it's weird or not. You guys can tell me. All right, root end off. We're gonna do the same thing we did a few weeks ago, chopping them in the most efficient way. All right, I have a bowl over there. Those peels and ends either go in my compost or they go into my bag of trimmings for stock. Either way, I always feel good that they're being used. Cut everything in half. Whoa. The one I cut before was really strong and made me cry. Peels off. So this filling could be used for a lot of different things. It could be used for, what we're doing, obviously, to stuff the eggplant. You could stuff peppers with it. You could stuff tomatoes. It's kind of a universal just method of making a meat stuffing for a vegetable. Zucchini also, that would be really good with this cheese sauce on top. And in all these cases, you want to cook your vegetable first. Not so much with the tomato, but a pepper. If you ever get watery stuffed peppers, it's like you need to salt and cook the pepper first so that it has some flavor and isn't just kind of soft and flavorless when you're done cooking. So my advice is to salt it. You could even microwave a pepper, not so much an eggplant, if you were going to stuff it, and then use this same filling. We're going to use some of the eggplant in the filling. So for a pepper, maybe you buy one extra one to cut up and saute and add with your onions to get that flavor inside. All right, we're going crosswise. This might be washed out lightwise, but we'll see. And then once parallel to the board, and then across like this to chop the onion. I'll do that 4 times and then get it in the pan. Is my pan on? Nope, it's not. All right, there's a little blemish there. Get rid of that. Slices that way, once across. I love this method so much. It's like instant chopped onions, no hassle. We haven't done anything that needs really tiny minced onion, but you just do, put your slices closer together, and that's easy too. Watch your fingers. I know everyone's making fun of me for saying watch your fingers so many times. That one time when you do this cut parallel to the board, crown your fingers like this on top so that you are not, hurting yourself. My friend said she was going to drink every time I said, don't cut your fingers. Okay, all these onions straight into the pot. It's, or into my frying pan with hot oil. Okay. All right, so everything we've made pretty much each week starts with a sauteed onion or a sauteed shallot, some sort of aromatic that brings flavor to the dish. It's really my go-to on almost everything I make. A lot of stews and things, I would then add carrots and celery. Those 3 things together are sort of they're called the mirepoix, like the base of most of what you make. I don't love carrots and celery in this type of stuffing though. I feel like it brings too much sweetness and the crunch. You're looking for more of a melded flavor. If you like that though, absolutely, those things could go in there. A chopped up bell pepper, some tomatoes, whatever you have. This is actually a great dish to sort of use up what's in your home as well. We're using up some rice, the cheese that was in the ingredient list, sort of whatever you have. I'm using goat cheese, but it's a good way to use up some things. So we're doing onions, we're not doing carrots and celery today, but we are going to use some garlic as usual. It just makes it so good. So, oh, that's a large one. We have this one large clove of garlic. Let's see what the next one looks like. Oh, these are big. Let's do one for now. 1, 2, what do you guys want? How much garlic do you like? I like a lot. Let's do 2. This is for a lot of people, and it's getting cooked for a while. All right, smash with the knife. Oh, those are strong ones. Hold on. Smash. There we go. Give it a good smoosh to get that peel off. Now it's cut. Those were stubborn. All right, see the peel comes right off. There's a small blemish there and a small bit of green. If you ever see the green sprout in your garlic, I don't eat that. That has a very bitter, strong taste. I think someone did an experiment on that, like why would something new like a sprout have such a strong taste? Usually that would be more mild, like microgreens and that, but it's not. The conclusion was it's actually very strong and bitter. So that little green center, you don't have to throw away the garlic though, you just pull it out and carry on. Okay, we have garlic in chunks. We want to get it pretty small. So knife down, hand on the end, and we're going to run through it a bunch of times. I need to turn up the onions, get those going. All right. Garlic's going into the pan. All right, we've got onions, garlic, olive oil, give it a stir. I should probably get my meat out of the fridge. That's probably a good idea, right? Okay, a little salt, a little pepper. We're gonna season each part as we go. Hang with me, I forgot to get the meat out. I'm going to go do that. Okay, so we have just a pound of ground beef. And you'll be amazed how far that's going to stretch once we add all these vegetables and all the rice and a bunch of parsley, and it's going to go. I actually had a little bit too much filling for 4 pieces earlier today. So this came right out of the fridge. I know when we did the steak, we said leave it for an hour to rest before it goes in so you get a good sear. We're looking for some brown, and the more you can get, you know, the more flavor it brings as usual. Hi Melissa, Melissa's here today. I'm always so happy to see you all. And Christine from North Carolina, welcome. But I mean, if I'm really in a rush, I take this out like semi-frozen and just try to crank up the heat and get it browned and get it cooked, because you know, you're trying to get dinner on the table half the time. So it's not as critical with the ground beef is what I'm trying to say. Okay, we're gonna let these onions cook until they're a little softer. And while that's happening, I will chop the parsley. So stir that up. And in this case, we don't need to take things out of the pan like we've been doing. Not as critical about crowding the pan and all that. So we'll just, these onions are going to stay. We'll make some space for the meat. And let's get on to the parsley. Jen is here. I wanted to say, Jen is our resident vegetarian who has been coming every week, and I can't thank you enough because we've done so much meat related stuff so far. So I was thinking when I was doing this earlier, this could so easily be made vegetarian with like a tempeh, or Seton is very high in gluten, so I can't have that, but like tempeh or grains of some sort, of farro, instead of the meat, and then still with all of the onions and everything that we put in here. And if you have suggestions, Oh, she's saying yes, one for the veg team today. I know, I was thinking about you. I'm like, this is 6 weeks of meat dishes, and you've been here, and I appreciate that. But if you have ideas for me and what some techniques of vegetarian, we should talk, and we can incorporate that, because they don't need to eat. You know, this has a lot of vegetables in it, and I try to have, if we're having meat, throw in as many vegetables as possible, but this certainly is not vegetarian. So let's talk, Jen, and thank you for being here. All right, parsley. Look at this beautiful bunch of parsley. I washed this, just run it under the water and then give it a good shake. Parsley can be very sandy, so you just want to make sure that it's not, because it will ruin your dish if you have sand in there. That's true of so many things. I'm going to use this whole thing, and some of it will go in, and some of it's going to go on top for our garnish. Just kind of shave downward the whole bunch right off of its stems, and then I'll pick through it a little bit. Get the stems out. Those stems can go into your stock for sure. And give it like a nice freshness. And then we're going to chop, chop, chop the way we did. Erica has a food-related health business too. How are you? She said she just bought an eggplant today. So if you make this, I'd love to know. And for anyone who just joined, let me reiterate, any questions, let me know. I love to chit-chat as we do this. So ask away. It could be about anything. I love food questions. I belong to this Facebook food group that is like, things get pretty contentious. You know, people disagree about how these things should be done. There's no right or wrong way as far as I'm concerned. All right, stems out. I mean, I guess there's a right way to some things, but I like to improvise. Okay, most of our stems are out. We're going to just push it into a pile, and same technique, run the knife through. Oh, that's a stem. Push it together again. What I was doing. I didn't even talk for a minute. Parsley is good for you. The kids don't love it. I think it's sort of hidden in this dish. I was saying a minute ago, this is a good one to just use up everything that's in your fridge. I frequently will chop up an entire bag of arugula, baby arugula, and throw it in something like this. Or even throw it in something like the pasta we made last week. And that's a really easy way to add greens and use up what you have, and it's delicious too. I love arugula. So let's stir this. Ooh, it's starting to brown a little. All right, we have onions and garlic. I'm putting the meat in next. So I'm making like a little circle in the middle. So these will continue to cook on the edges, but not over high heat. And we'll get our meat in there as well. So this is a pound of ground beef. And like I said, it was a little bit too much when I made it earlier, but I like to eat these things the next day, just like for breakfast. I love savory breakfast. All right, so I'm breaking this up so we get as much surface area as possible. And don't forget, for anyone who joined a little bit later, our eggplant is salted with oil on it, and it's in the oven, getting soft and browned, so we can work with that better. Erica said she just got here. So yes, in this pan are olive oil, onions, and garlic, and now our ground beef. And in my 400-degree oven, I have a large eggplant cut in half that's been salted and oiled, like I just said, and we're trying to get that a little bit browned and soft so it tastes good, you know, once we put the stuffing in. I should say, technique-wise, most stuffings like this, I think most stuffings in general, even if Thanksgiving stuffing, you cook everything in advance. So Thanksgiving stuffing, you would cook the onions, the celery, the sausage, whatever, mushrooms, anything that's going in there, for the same reasons that we cook, what was I going to say, like all of our aromatics first in a stew before we add liquid, because liquid can only get up to 212 degrees, whereas the pan is 400 or more degrees. So like, you can't get the caramelization and the flavor once it's in liquid or inside a bird. You'll never get, for turkey stuffing, you'll never get that flavor that way. So including something like this, we cook it all first, we get the most flavor, and it starts to melt together a little bit. And then once you stuff it, that last bit in the oven is pretty fast. So you could even do this in advance. Jen, going back 5 minutes, Jen says, yes, this is not vegetarian. That is true, this is not vegetarian. That's a pound of meat. But okay, if you're watching, I don't know, Jen, actually, you tell me, do you like tempeh? What would you use in this case to like, boost up this filling? So it's not just onions. What would you use as a substitute? I'm curious. So let me salt this meat as well. A little bit of salt, pepper. And then we have to talk about our binder. So usually a stuffing has some sort of binder, meaning like a starch that holds it together. In this case, I'm using rice. So on the ingredients list, I said you could use rice, you could use quick oats. Quick oats cook more quickly, that's why they're called that. And they tend to absorb the liquid faster as opposed to rolled oats when you get soft enough once you bake the eggplants. So those are two options, and breadcrumbs, of course, are another option. I would just use less of them because it's like there are more breadcrumbs per cup than there is rice. They're just smaller pieces. Let me see. I think Jen answered this question. A combo of mushrooms. Oh, that's a good idea. I did not even think that. So instead of the meat, to make this vegetarian, you could use a mixture of mushrooms. I guess I would chop them all up and try to get them sort of browned. That sounds really good, actually. I'll just tell a story. I made a haggis one time, which I do every year for Robert Burns Day. Robert Burns? I don't know which one's the video thing and which one's the poet. Ooh, that's someone will correct me, hopefully. But my friend showed up and her daughter said, I'm a vegetarian. I was like, well, this is not the dish for you, but I would have made a mushroom haggis instead if I had known that. So it is a good substitute for meat. That is off topic. All right, we have our meat, onions, garlic. I'm just going to throw the rice in here right now. And then that's going to the side for a second. So that was a cup of rice. You can use leftover rice. It's probably actually even better to use leftover rice because it will absorb more liquid that way if it's a little bit drier. So if you had Chinese food, whatever situation, you have extra rice, throw it in something like this. You can also make fried rice. We should do that sometime. That's a really good use of leftover rice. All right, there's more going in here, but not quite yet. So we need to work on our sauce. Let me check these eggplants. Ooh, they look good. Okay. This is coming off heat. We don't want it to be burning hot when we're trying to stuff. All right. And I'm going to throw about, yes, Teresa, to clarify, the rice was already cooked. So if, it's not even going to be in here that long, I have parsley all over my hands, or with enough liquid that the rice would cook in this dish. So it was pre-cooked rice. If you were doing the other options, like quick oats, they would not be pre-cooked because that just absorbs the liquid much faster than rice did. And of course, breadcrumbs or panko breadcrumbs or anything like that would also absorb really quickly. So in the case of rice, though, yes, it's pre-cooked. And I'm adding about 3/4 of this parsley in here as well. And stir that up and take it off the heat. Oh, no, first our spices. I'm doing this like a little bit Middle Eastern Mediterranean style, which you could also use ground lamb to do this even more Mediterranean style, almost like a moussaka, because the sauce that we're putting on top of this is similar to a moussaka. So to pump up those Middle Eastern Mediterranean flavors, I'm using some cumin, just a sprinkling of cumin, a tiny, tiny bit of cinnamon, not too much. You want like teensy bit. Ooh, that was maybe even a little too much. And this is oregano from my garden. jarred oregano also would be fine. I have, that's not much at all, maybe a teaspoon. And similar to whole rosemary, you want to kind of crush it between your fingers so it's more of a powder, and then stir that together. All right, now we're taking this off the heat and we're going to start our sauce. That looks good. I think it's nice. And if you let it sit, you want to let it sit a little bit so that the flavors kind of meld all together. All right, switching that back there, this here. And we are making what's called a bechamel, which is one of they're called mother sauces of French cooking. And it's actually very simple. You'll be amazed how simple this is. Isabel, welcome. Isabel is my friend and French teacher, and I'm just happy that you're here, and also a fellow food lover. So it's good to see you. We're about to make our bechamel. Oh, maybe you could tell us in France what a bechamel is used for. The things I know of are like a lasagna. One of the layers is usually a bechamel. I'm on the wrong camera. A lasagna. In a moussaka, like I said before, it would be lamb and the bechamel and the eggplant all layered together. So very similar to these flavors, but in a casserole type dish. And the sauce we're making today is technically called a Mornay sauce, which is a bechamel with cheese. So that is what we're doing today. So my pan's getting hot already. So hold on to your pans. This is so simple, you won't believe it. I have too hot though. 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm going to whisk this until it comes together, which does not take long. You have to get into those corners of the pan, and you'll see it thickens pretty quickly. Isabel says she loves bechamel, so that's, I know, it's like, what's not to love? It's so delicious. And you can just do so much with it. So far, I know you're all following along. 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour, that's it. And then we're going to add a cup of milk, but slowly. So let this cook for a few seconds until it's bubbling to cook out the raw flavor of the flour. You don't want to have sort of raw flour dispersed in your sauce. Just give it a second. If we continued with this and let it get darker and darker, it would be what's called a roux in Cajun cooking, where you would make I'm forgetting the word. Oh my God. Somebody help me. A gumbo, sorry. You would want to get this to a dark color, and that helps make it a gumbo too, but we're not talking about that right now. Maybe we'll do that in the future. So this is starting to bubble, which means the flour is getting cooked. Raw flour just does not taste good. And then I have a cup of milk. This is 2% milk. You can really do it with any milk. There's fat in it already from the butter. But I like a little bit of extra fat in there too. And you don't want your milk to be super cold. It will still work if it's super cold, but it's just easier. It will seize up less as you're cooking. If it's not, or if it's warm, you can just warm this in the microwave. That's the easiest way. And we're going to add this little by little. So you'll see what magic happens here though. So we have this butter and flour. We're going to add some of the milk. And you would think it gets thinner, but it's going to turn into like a dough in a second. So whisk, it's important to whisk. And you see already, now it's really thick. And you feel that it's never going to work out, but it is. So cook that a little bit. You have Play-Doh at this point, and then you add a little bit more milk. And just keep doing this back and forth, and each time it will thicken up, and then at some point you'll be like, oh, it's not thickening up anymore as much, and that's when you start to have a sauce. So see how this is already, it's really thick, but it's a little bit smoother. Isabel asked if I add nutmeg, which I do, and I forgot to put the nutmeg in the ingredients list. I thought of it as I was doing the practice run. A tiny bit of nutmeg is traditional in a bechamel, even in a, even though you're using it in a savory dish. So that is a good question. It's a really good question. And she says she loves it. Wait, we do it in the French. Oh, I thought it said omelet. I read that wrong. I was like, oh, a bechamel omelet. I didn't know that. She said we do it in the French recipes sometimes. So that's how I've learned to do it too. With a tiny bit of nutmeg. So it's funny, we have cinnamon in our meat mixture, we have nutmeg in the sauce, which are typically, you know, for sweet dishes. But they just add a little je ne sais quoi to this as well. Okay, so you'll see this is starting to come together. And it says a sauce consistency to it. This is also, if you were to make mac and cheese from scratch, this is how you would want to start. If you've ever tried just putting your cheese in a pan, you get melted cheese, which is pretty stringy and gooey and not so much a sauce. So you want it to be a sauce. All right, I'm gonna let that cook. You'll see I added that last bit of milk and it sort of thinned it out almost too much. So let's let that cook for a second while I check what's going on in my oven. Ooh, okay, my glass is steamed up. All right, our test run is coming out, but I don't want you to see it yet. Let's do that. Watch out, my dog is right here. Test run. Whoa. Okay, secret going over here. Eggplants, pretty soft. I'm gonna give them another second. Oh, maybe I should take them out. I did this on convection before, but it was too loud, so it's taking a tiny bit longer. How long have we been going? Half an hour? All right. So here are our eggplants after half an hour. You at least want it to be, can you see this? It's pretty soft to the touch, and I'm sure it's caramelized on the underside. So I'm gonna flip them over and let them cool for a second. I hope they're caramelized. Whoops, that is hot. They're not that caramelized, but that's okay. Let's see. The convection made quite a difference before, but they're very soft. Okay, these are softer but less caramelized. That's okay, because you'll see how much more they're going to cook with our filling. Here's my dog, hoping that I'll drop something. Teresa asked, how long did I cook the eggplant? This has been probably 20 minutes at 400 degrees. I did it 20 minutes on convection earlier, and it was much more caramelized. So I'd say maybe half an hour at 400 degrees in a regular oven, 20 with convection. So, you know, and there's nothing wrong with this. That looks delicious, and they're soft enough. That's the key point. That's what we're going for. All right, our bechamel is coming together. Give that one more stir, and now I'm going to add the cheese to it. So I have these goat cheese crumbles. I felt like the Middle Eastern, Mediterranean flavors went nicely with goat cheese. You could literally add any cheese you have, just chop it up pretty small so it melts into there. But cheddar, pepper jack, anything, you know, cheese in a cream sauce is delicious no matter what you do. You can't go wrong. And quantity-wise, just however much it seemed like would reasonably melt into this. So that was half of this container. And I'll show you, you know, it starts out kind of lumpy, but it's going to become very smooth quickly. If it gets over thickened, you can add a little bit more milk. You can add a little bit more, just a tiny drop of water. Look at that. Oh, it's really smooth already. And I'm going to add the nutmeg. Literally, I hope you can see this, literally like the tiniest bit as far as I'm concerned, like that for the whole pot. You don't want it to taste like cookies, you know, just a small amount, and a little bit of salt. One of the rules of cooking sauces like this is that if you're going to add pepper, you would add white pepper, so you don't see the black flecks in there. I do not even have white pepper. I don't tend to do that, or if it's just for myself, I would add the black pepper, but that is a rule that some people would say is unforgivable. I broke so many rules last week that I can't even worry. Hi Kelly, Kelly's here. Did you cook anything good this week? I know you made that chicken. All right, Kelly, we're making a bechamel cheese sauce for our stuffed eggplant, which was just butter, flour, and milk, basically. And we have our filling over here. So you can see how smooth this is. I got a little bit of parsley in there. Oops. You can see how smooth that is. That looks delicious. All right, one last step here is to get the eggplants ready to stuff. So this is too hot to touch. Oh, maybe I'll put them on the cutting board. Hold on. Bring this back. Okay. Soft eggplants. They could be browner than this. I think if you are doing this, not under time pressure, let them go a little bit longer so they're actually like a caramelized brown here, but this is also fine. And I think they may even hold together a little better for them to do the stuffing shape. I'm gonna rinse this knife. I know I'm always like, you could do this and that, but I think the key is you can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong. So whatever you're doing is fine. And if you're putting all of this in and browning things, it's going to be awesome no matter what. Kelly said she's making wings tomorrow. That sounds awesome. Karen says we made a Parmesan cream sauce and put it over mushroom ravioli, and it started with the bechamel. That sounds awesome. So what else? I'm wondering what else went into that. The bechamel and some Parmesan, probably. Anything else in there? All right, I'm cutting these in half. And then we're going to scoop them out and put that, I have too much going on at once here. Hold on. Turning off the sauce so that it doesn't get too thick. All right, I need a spoon. And we'll just scoop out, try to leave a border. Leave, if you can, leave a little bit of a border on all the sides so your stuffing stays in. It doesn't matter if the parsley gets mixed with this because it's all going in the same place. And the other key here is don't make a hole in the bottom. So the skin's kind of holding this all together. You don't want to poke through there and it won't hold anything. That is super hot, but it's fine. Oh, garlic and black pepper and Karen's Parmesan sauce. That sounds really good. Oh, garlic in the white sauce. That sounds great, actually. You could do a roasted garlic too. That would be good. All right. It's taking me kind of a long time because it's so hot. Huh. I'm going to make a cut where I want my border to be and try not to cut through to the bottom like I said before. All right, so we're going to end up with these 4 little eggplant boats. And then some extra eggplant to stick into the filling. Well, that one worked well. All right, transfer these back to the pan as I go, because they're going back in the oven. It's funny, the bigger side seems to have cooked faster, which is not what I would have thought. Kelly's asking what this is, because I know, I'm sorry, I'll reiterate. This is an eggplant that has been in the oven, whoa, I'm burning my fingers, at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, and we were saying we could go even as 30 to get it a little bit browner. So, but the key thing, what we wanted, it's really hot, is for it to be soft so that we can chop up this middle part, and so the eggplant overall will taste good once it's baked again. And there was a ton of olive oil on there to give it its delicious flavor. All right, I'm butchering that one a little bit, but that's okay. My brother says, hi Sadie, that's my dog who is literally just standing here hoping I'll drop something for her. Maybe she'll make her debut at some point. Kelly, you're right, we should do squash at some point since it's fall. I saw all these pumpkins at the market today. I'm like, we could cook some of those up. Maybe a pumpkin soup. That would be awesome. All right, there is no technique going on here right now. You just have to get that out of there and put these back on here, spaced out so that we can fill them. And I'm going to chop up all of this. This was why I said before, if you were stuffing a pepper, you might want to get an extra pepper. Vadim says, smart dog. I know, she knows what's good, right? You might want to get an extra pepper and chop it up and cook it with the onions so that you have pepper flavor in the filling as well, because there's nothing inside a pepper, obviously, to do this with. All right, that's quite a lot. I think we're going to have extra stuffing in the end because that was a nice full eggplant. All right, all of this is going into the stuffing. We have our spices in there, the cumin, cinnamon, oregano, parsley. What else? Onions, garlic, ground beef. And here is our bechamel. It's still, like I said, if you let it sit, just add a little bit more liquid or hot water. A tiny bit of hot water will loosen something like that back up without a problem. So don't worry. It can get that skin like pudding gets if you don't put saran wrap on it, so you can pull that off if that happens, or try to melt it back in. All right, filling with the eggplant, getting stirred. Oh, I can smell the cumin. That smells really nice. Oh, I made a ton. I made a ton, but I think you'll. It's only a pound of beef, so it's really 1 serving of beef per person. Plus, it would be 1 serving of beef per person, like a 1/4 pound. Half an onion. It's really not that much per person, but it looks like a lot. All right, I'm gonna get a cup measure. All right, and now we fill up these shells. So I did an okay job with that. You know, there's some eggplant around the edge, which you want, so you have the flavor, and then a nice area to fill them up. So I'm taking this 1/2 cup measure, fill it up with a spoon, and just press them into each shell. If you're doing this with peppers, I think you've probably seen me cut off the top and save it. Try to remember which top is for which pepper, so you have little hats. Just fill them just like this, and then put their little hat back on and stand them up in a small dish. It's basically exactly the same. So that's one. I'll try to do this neatly. That is about a little less than a cup of filling in each one. And if it falls out a little bit, it's okay. All right, 3rd one. And then this is going to go back in the 400-degree oven for another 20 minutes. And I'll show you what that looks like in the end. Oh, now you see the dog walking by. For anyone who was on that very first video, this dog was barking like a maniac. So I was like, I guess this is a real life cooking series. And she hasn't done that since. So I hope I didn't just jinx myself. We'll see. All right, I have some left over. You could keep going. I feel like they're pretty full. Try to get them all the same. Push it down a little bit so it stays. If you are making some fillings require an egg to hold them together, or you might even want to add an egg to make it almost more meatloaf-ish, which would be perfectly fine. In this case, I feel like it binds together pretty well on its own. But if you were adding an egg, you would scramble the egg separately and let this cool before you do that, so you don't end up cooking the egg immediately in the stuffing. So if you ever see that step, or just want to do that step, you have to let it cool add your egg, and it will hold together a little bit more. This may fall apart a little bit, but I don't mind that. All right, we have our stuffed eggplant, and now we put our bechamel or our Mornay sauce, which is a bechamel with cheese, on top. So we have this here. Hi Dina, welcome. We're about to put a bechamel Mornay sauce on top of our stuffed eggplants, which are stuffed with ground beef, onions, garlic, parsley, some spices, and the cut up eggplant from inside each one. So you could, of course, just put cheese on top, but it would be less of a sauce type thing. If you were doing sort of more of an eggplant parm style thing, which would be delicious, you know, beef and some mozzarella and red sauce, that would be awesome. Just melt some cheese on top. I like this because it spreads around and it melts and it gets brown. Kelly says she's been hesitant about eggplant. Do you need a broiler? I do acorn squash or butternut squash with a filling, which, oh, that sounds really good. Yes, I do find the eggplant can be tough. I think it's tough to do and tough literally. I think I may have said in the beginning, sometimes you cook it and it's still a little bit of that rubbery texture. And I think the key is having enough oil and salt on it and just cooking it long enough and maybe at a high enough temperature that it does get that little bit of brown to it. You know, there have been times where I'm like, well, what the heck? It's been in there for a long time and it's still like rubbery cubes. But a stuffed acorn squash sounds delicious. Fatim said, can the sauce be mixed with the stuffing before filling the eggplant? I'm sure it could be. That sounds interesting actually. So maybe it would like it kind of blends together into a creamy mixture. That sounds good. Maybe we'll try that sometime, Vadim. Okay, that's enough, I think. So I have a little bit extra of each thing, but this is how they look right now. And I'm gonna pop that in the oven. Where did my spatula? Yeah, I wanna just smooth out that sauce a little bit and cover all the edges. Trying to do this neatly for presentation, but we're also going to sprinkle some parsley on top and try to make it look fancy either way. Okay. All right, so this one's going back in the 400-degree oven, and I'll show you the end result. So, these are my little oven mitts. They're so good. Okay, so let me see what we got here. So this one came out of the 400-degree oven. So this one in Erica says, I've been making sauteed eggplant and mushrooms with some balsamic vinegar, coconut aminos, which is like a soy sauce substitute. For this no sauce family, it makes it feel fancy. That sounds really good, actually. So eggplant and mushrooms with balsamic vinegar. And how long do you cook it? I'm wondering, because that, to me, does it have oil? I can just never get it to be soft without the oil, although that sounds also really healthy. So tell me more. Eggplant, mushrooms, balsamic vinegar, and coconut aminos. So that has like a soy sauce flavor. That sounds good. That's 2 people using mushrooms. I love mushrooms. All right, let's look at this. This one, we went through all these same steps, put the sauce on it, and stuck it back in the 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. And look how browned the cheese got. Some of it melted off, so we'll put that on our plate at the end. The eggplant itself is very soft, and it just looks like everything kind of melded together. So we are just going to plate this. Oh, oil. Erica says, yes, of course I use oil. Yeah, okay, good. I wasn't sure how healthy we're getting here. But olive oil is good for you, so in moderation, of course. So that sounds really good. All right, let's bring our plate over here and give this a try. All right, get some of the sauce from the edges. I just love how that's kind of bubbled up It's the same sauce you would use in a lasagna. So if you picture the top of a lasagna gets that bubbly brown, you know, a little bit of a crust to it, that's exactly what we're going for. And now you also know how to make lasagna. So it's just the noodles and meat mixture with the onions and everything, red sauce, bechamel, repeat, and you've already got it. So Erica says, frozen, oh, I've never had it. Frozen mushrooms are my favorite freezer staple since the pandemic. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of hard to keep mushrooms for a long time in the fridge. That sounds good. I might try them. All right, let me clean up this plate a little bit. I just made some vegetables, so you would make maybe just a salad on the side, some greens with a dressing. I have some cut up cucumbers. Whoops, I just dropped them all. Some cut up cucumbers that I meant to arrange in a nice way. Let's stack them back up again. Do that. I'm trying to be fancy and I dropped them. Let's do something like that. Some tomato. These are these Kumamoto tomatoes, which are so delicious. Like that. And then we need, oh yeah, Kelly, let me come back to that in a second, the egg part. Hold on. And what happened to our parsley here? Always a little bit of garnish. It just makes everything feel a little bit fancier. So I'm going to move this over under my hot burner. You can see the final dish. Before I do that, let me answer Kelly's question. So we did not use an egg today, but what I was saying is a stuffing like this sometimes calls for an egg when you want it to bind together a little bit more. So maybe even in a stuffed pepper, it almost ends up being more like meatloaf or meatball inside. I'm trying to think of a better example, but some do call for that. So you would want to do everything we did and then let it cool so that when you have your egg in the mixture, the egg isn't just immediately going to cook and scramble in there. So you can't really, you can in some cases, but it's harder to add an egg to a hot mixture. That was what I said. So this did not have one, but you could easily do that. So a little more garnish. I like things to look pretty. I don't know. Whoops. And some salt on our vegetables. Let's move this over here. And here's our finished dish. See if I can turn the lights down a little bit so you can see it better. There we go. Okay. So we have our stuffed eggplant with our filling, our vegetables, a little bit of garnish, and you know, maybe a glass of wine with that. I'm just gonna try it. Some sauce, some filling, and some eggplant all in one bite. Oh my God. That is really good. Nadeem says, nice. That's the best compliment I could ask for. It is. I wish you guys could be here and tasted that. It was really good. So I hope you will make it and try this at home. If you do, please let me know. I'd love to see your pictures. And I was chatting with Nadeem's wife the other day while he was cooking, and that was really a treat. Teresa says it looks fabulous. David says it looks delicious. I assure you that was really good. So please do let me know and send me your requests. This was requested by my friend Jane, and I am happy to go over any dish that anyone's interested in, and we'll keep doing this. And any questions, let me know. So again, Nicole Pietrandrea Huff for cocohoughh.com, COCOHOUGH. You've already found me on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, soon on YouTube. I keep saying that. This week is hopefully the week for that. And I'll see you here again next Tuesday at 7. Thank you so much for being here.